Uh-huh.
All right, Site-42, testing, testing, one, two, three. We are going live for another anomalous broadcast from Site-42. We are looking for confirmation that we have gone live. If you can hear us, send us a sign if our signal is reaching you in your quarantine bunkers. This is
Quarantine
not
bunkers.
Researcher Sherman. I'm not a researcher tonight. Wrong costume.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sherm. We're going to do this show right now. Awesome. Hey there, Foundation staff. This is Sherman, but you can call me Sherm. Welcome to another anomalous broadcast from Site-42. For anybody unfamiliar with our show, the rundown goes like this. Number 1, I read you an SCP document or a tale or a GUI or something of that nature. B, I open up the floor to the community to discuss what we've been reading. We're often visited by SCP authors, staff, and fans, and if we're lucky, the author of the article themselves shows up that night to share some insight. Remember that if you would like to join the conversation yourself, I will be monitoring the text chat in between chapters and answering questions, as will my guest. Also, remember that if you
Hi.
super enjoy... Darkstuff, back in the closet. It's not time for you yet.
You said my name, guest.
Not yet.
Okay.
Also, remember that if you really enjoy the show, leave a like and a comment to let us know. Subscribe and hit the bell. And if you really want to help us out, become a patron at patreon.com/site42. Tonight, we are continuing the tale series Vend-a-Friend by Darkstuff. And lucky for us, Darkstuff is going to come out of the closet right now and join in. So say hi.
Hi. Hello.
Welcome back. How's your week, buddy?
My week was good. I got an internship and all is well.
Hooray. Congratulations.
Thank you. I
I
uh I want to bring up that you're coming close to the first landmark in the series, which is this series is kind of unofficially split into three acts. The first act is chapters 1 through 5 because when I was writing them, I expected the story to end at chapter 5. So you can experience just those 5 chapters as if they're like from beginning to end, start to conclusion. Um, so you're coming up on the penultimate chapter to the first quote unquote arc.
All right. The penultimate
Mm-hmm.
chapter of the first arc, the act 1 of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. All right. Well, without any further ado, let's get into chapter 4. You can't win them all.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna mute myself.
All right. This looks like, if I'm going to guess voice here, it seems like they're cops based on what they're saying. Okay, let's start from the top. Tell us everything that happened in order, starting from the dispatch. I got the hit on the radio. 42-7, 459 at 3865-7 Green Street. Only a couple blocks away. I hit the siren, pulled a U-turn, and went straight there. Got there before any backup did. Couldn't wait. Bust down the door. The whole place was silent. Had my pistol out. Moved door to door on the first floor, kicking them down. Some were open already. Got to the kid's bedroom. Should have guessed. The sicko. And bust it down. Didn't have time to take in the scene. Only noticed the sitter sprawled out on the floor afterwards. First thing I saw was this mime. It was a tall, skinny man in all black and white and wearing a black and white face paint. Held a big rainbow umbrella. Slick, oily black hair. It looked like it was supposed to be a mime, but it was really smeared. He was bruised too, so it was black and white and purple. He had both kids under his arms, hunched over, almost sheltering them. They were crying hard. He yelled something about a tourist trap, and the floor opened up behind him, and he fell into it. Pulled the two kids in with him. I was so taken aback I shot instinctively. Heard a yelp, so I must have hit him somewhere. He fell into the hole with the kids, and it closed up after him, like a wormhole or something. The place has been looked up and down. No sign of no nothing odd like in that house. Have you ever had any episodes before? Hallucinations, a history of mental illness. You don't very easily get into the business with a history of mental illness. No, had none of that. Any other odd kidnappings recently? Anything clown related? Nah, can't say anything comes to mind. Police sketches have come up with nothing, I see. Behind that face paint, it could really be anyone. Alright, stay here. Wojcik stood up and left the room to meet with his comrades. As he closed the door behind him, the familiar hiss of gas and the subsequent panic from the policeman was shut out by soundproof walls. It clicked behind him and locked on its own. It certainly looks like he's got more than just a magic car, but it's all got to do with teleporting. Guy said that he was chanting something about a tourist trap before he fell through the floor. What did the girl say? She says that the guy said he lived there. Command is looking through the previous inhabitants of the house as we speak. Said that he wasn't armed or anything. Looks like he didn't expect anyone to be home. I'd say we stumbled into some basic detective work. Pretty rare in our neck of the woods. Looks to be following the normal arc. His two victims were accidents. We're probably looking at some kind of pedophile. Knows his way around the internet. Can pick anybody up anywhere. As far as kidnappers go, he's got quite the gig. The door behind the two faux FBI agents popped open, and a young man, almost considered a boy, poked his head in and eagerly awaited recognition. What's the news? He bounced a little. 2 more kidnappings in East India. Same car, spray-painted black Ferrari with some pink sticking out from under its new coat. Same situation of kids just sitting on the side of the street waiting to get picked up. Same story of losing the car behind corners when they could have sworn they were right up on its tail. The kid sprung out the door and sprinted to wherever it was he needed to go. Seems he likes India and Egypt. It certainly seems like it. That's chapter 1. Oh, that was quick.
Yep, that was the first part.
All right. Insanity Major is in the chat, says hi, and also, did you get the message about his draft that he was going to send
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I did. It just takes me a while to get to PMs. I do get to them though. It just like I knock them all out in one day, and that one day happens like once a week. Hasn't happened yet.
you? The time will come, Insanity Major. And hello, Connor, as well.
Hello.
Vochik
I want,
is how we will say that from now on.
yeah, Wojcik. I saw that right before you said it, and I was like, oh no.
We're doing it live. We're winging it.
Wojcik.
Vochik.
To be fair, I didn't remember how that name was supposed to be pronounced either, but I looked it up.
So, chapter 1, we've got Vochik, the policeman from the scene. And then we've got a second operative Vochik is talking to before a third operative shows up.
Yep.
Okay. Setting our characters. Policeman's got the deep voice. Vochik is now European of some indeterminable bad accent.
Yeah.
Third guy is neutral, and fourth guy is childlike. Roger that. Hello, Sharon Stanley. Welcome to Chapter 4, Part 2 of Vend-a-Friend.
Are we starting now?
We are starting now.
All right. Muting myself again.
Nothing for days. Operative Baxter had heard that those over in India had gotten close 1 or 2 times, but Cairo, Egypt was as quiet as ever. Well, it had the bustle and hustle expected of a city its size, but kidnappings were in short supply. A lack of kidnappings would have been all fine and good if Baxter didn't feel that any kidnappings that didn't happen in Cairo were just happening somewhere else. If they ended up in his jurisdiction, he thought, he could put an end to them. Mark just sat in his car, a modified blue Mercedes-Benz, with Operative Lynn to his right, and chewed on tobacco. Lynn was loudly consuming a burger that she had gotten a couple hours ago, but was only hungry for now. The two operatives stewed in silence, minding their own business and staring at the kid on the corner. The little boy, most of his victims were little boys, was wearing a green shirt that said "Keep calm and read a book," and some torn-up khakis. The kid couldn't have been more than 10. What was he doing out and about with no supervision in the city was purely odd. He just stood there, looking around him a couple times and kicking some trash around. He was like this for at least an hour and a half, because they had been spying on him that long. It bugged Lynn that they weren't going to try and save him from anything, but she understood why. No kid, no kidnapping, no catching a kidnapper. And so they waited, and waited, and waited. The shadows stretched as the sun kept going down. People passed back and forth. Cars zoomed every which way, and the kid just kept standing there. Lynn had long since finished her burger and pulled out her laptop. The child had sat down on the curb by this point. Lynn was typing away at something, a text file from what Baxter could tell. Something fictional. "What's that?" Lynn just glanced up at Baxter and pursed her lips for a second. Eye contact was held for around 10 seconds before Lynn turned away and closed her laptop. "I'm going to get another burger." "Stay on the radio." The door slammed behind her. Now that she was gone, Baxter rolled down the window and pulled out a cigarette. His hands were a bit shaky, and it was more challenging than normally would be. The cigarette was lit, and Baxter's nerves were calmed. Then, of course, he waited, and waited, and waited, and waited. The street became black. Baxter noted just how long Lynn was gone. He knew she was mad, but this was bordering on compromising the mission. Was that... In the heavy traffic, Baxter thought he spotted a black car with pink undertones. The door opened and startled Baxter. "You were gone a long time." "I needed some air. Where's the kid?" "The kid?" The kid was gone, and they both spied a black Ferrari careening around the corner. Lynn slammed the door shut. Baxter slammed the gas, and they were off. The car squealed into gear and drifted around the corner, prompting multiple honks and displeased drivers. They had until the car got out of city limits to tag it. The car could only disappear if nobody could see it. Lynn scrambled to get her seat open and pulled the tracker rifle out of it. Baxter pulled over his phone, hit a button, and had the car suddenly burst into police sirens. The Ferrari, windows too tinted to make out the passenger or driver, drove erratically. It swerved and slid and skid on the pavement, blowing a noxious gray emission behind it. The pedestrians on the side screamed and fled into buildings. Confused cars pulled over at the sound of sirens. "We've got him. Requesting backup by Garden City. Find us on the radar," Baxter yelled into the transceiver. This place was far too crowded to really get out of sight. Why would he have come here? They turned another corner, and the Nile was in sight. The Ferrari grated against the pavement as it hit a street light with its right bumper. Click. They needed to stop them from getting to the water. A couple shots resounded in the streets as Lynn leaned out the window and shot the tracker rifle. The Ferrari barely escaped the two shots, one landing on a garbage can and the other breaking a window. For such an anarchic driver, they must have been blessed with some unholy luck. Lynn began to clamber out of the window, sliding on two slabs of magnet into the heels of her shoes. Her feet made a loud clang as they stuck onto the sides of the car, and the sound moved up onto the roof. Baxter beelined for the kidnapper, who in turn headed straight for the river. Lynn steadied the rifle as best she could, while she got jostled from side to side, clinging to the roof by the soles of her feet. She fired just as the Ferrari turned the corner. Why did it do that? The thought was interrupted by her insides pushing to one side. Baxter turned the corner, and the car screeched. There was a commotion as the Ferrari ran over someone's leg. Baxter, caught by surprise, turned the car sideways and was forced to make sure he didn't hit the crowd. Lynn, seeing the Ferrari darting out of sight, made her movements quick. Reinforcements weren't going to get there fast enough, and Baxter was incapacitated by the crowd. She found a stopped car, pushed the driver aside, and started driving. She kicked it into gear and slid onto the sidewalk and pressed on the car horn. Civilians fled this way and that, and Lynn ground her teeth. The Ferrari was getting too far away for comfort. She saw the brake and the railing on the side, a few more feet that way. The car was too far away to hit. How would she bridge the gap? There was a big cargo boat in the Nile. She only had the faintest idea of what to do, but her instinct pulled her to the left. While the car was still running, she rolled down the window and climbed out onto the hood of the car. She had to use the momentum of the impact to make this work. Her heart felt like bursting, but this child abducting bastard wasn't going to get away with this. Not in a million years. Not on Lynn's watch. She remembered at the last second that she was tied down by her magnetic heels. Trying to mitigate the damage, she attempted to jump, but was only able to get 1 foot off the hood of the car before the crash. Sure, she was able to get off the car, but she could tell that the adrenaline was a merciful drug. Her left knee was more than dislocated, it was shattered. She spun 3 times in the air before her right foot banged into the side of the boat. Reeling in pain and lurching forwards to keep her head out of the water, she spied the Ferrari crashing off of the street and lurching towards the river. Using her hatred and the last of her strength, she ignored what was now both of her broken legs and raised her rifle. The scope dipped in and out of the blue swaying waves. Each time it got closer to the car. Closer and closer and closer. Almost. 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 The car crashed into the water and began to sink. Lynn dropped her rifle and stared at the wreckage as it sunk into the Nile out of sight. She heard the commotion as crew members noticed her hanging off the side and began to help her up. She collapsed onto the deck and recoiled at the pain. Staring at the grande Egyptian starlit sky, she grinned in smug victory.
How was that, bro?
Action! All right.
Yeah. Was it possible to tell what was going on? I feel like if I was to write that now, I would have changed some things to make it clearer.
I'd say on a scale of like understanding the map in my mind of what was happening, I give it a solid like 6 or 7. Like, yeah, it could have been a little clearer, but in my head I could kind of keep track of as I was talking of where these things were happening.
Good. Because the image of what Lynn does at the end, I really hope comes across really well.
I mean, the image of what
'Cause-
happened to her leg was terrible.
Yes, but like that you could tell like why that happened and what she was trying to do and yada yada because it went really fast.
Say that one more time. I got distracted checking the YouTube chat. I apologize.
It's all right. I just was saying that like but like why she got those injuries and what she was trying to do and what she accomplished. Like I just hope that that was all clear.
I heard that shoop sound and I was like, I think that means she got it.
Yeah, I was hoping that you did that correctly. I actually, while muted, made the noise at the same time you did, and we did the same noise, and I was like, "Yep, okay, he knows.
Yes.
He knows what it is.
Got him, coach.
We got him.
All right.
All
Checking
right,
the
boys,
YouTube
we
chat for the
got him."
pre-chapter real quick. Connor's the dude who gave me the greatest compliment of all time by saying that my Red Reality reading was Mark Hamill caliber VO work.
Oh,
All right.
nice.
Thank you. Mark is so good at everything. And he's such a nice dude.
He is cool.
He also wants me to do Daleport sometime. Oh my lord.
Oh my lord, Insanity Major, I didn't realize that your avatar is one of the badges from the Vend-a-Friend hub. That's awesome.
Oh, that's really small and I can't see it, but that's pretty neat.
Yeah, you can tell what it is by going back to the Vend-a-Friend hub and then scrolling down to I mean, you can just see the circles, right? That have like the W on the tower. The top one is the daytime version, and the bottom one is the nighttime version. And Insanity Major has the nighttime version as their profile picture,
Oh, now
which
I can
is
see that. Yeah.
awesome.
Neat.
Neat. Neat as hell.
Cool. Well, we wrote an action. You wrote an action scene, and you learned what to do the next time you write an action scene. It's perfect.
Yeah, that was like my first action scene I'd ever written.
I
So,
I remember when I wrote my tale, my one tale, the what's it called? Ignorance is Bliss. I wrote a couple fight scenes in there, like mono and mono action scenes. And
hmm
thankfully, I read through. I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files. And
I've
so
heard of those.
there's so much first person action in that that on I mean, first of all, that I kind of understood what to do with it, but then one of my friends read it and like, this is just a Dresden Files story. Sherman, do better. I was like, I like the Dresden Files. I think it's great.
Wow. I just looked at that article you wrote, and it's at plus 43, but only has one comment other than yourself. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, phase one is tales on the wiki don't get enough love in general. Everybody go
Yeah.
read tales because they're amazing. Um,
Absolutely agreed.
I got a good bit of looks at it because the it was part of the canon contest or a failed
Yeah.
canon contest a couple years back. Our team didn't get enough stuff together to make it happen.
Oh,
But and
it's
then
unfortunate.
we've been slowly filling it out. So every time we add something to it, it gets a couple more views from new people.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, not a single comment. So I'm just hoping everyone's upvoting it and just saying, okay, this is good. I'm fine.
I'll read it later. I'll keep it open in a tab.
Well, much appreciated. Anything premise before we go into the third section?
Nope. I got nothing to say.
All right, team leader Baxter and quartermaster Vocik.
Oh, I do have one. No, no, I'll let that wait. I'll let that wait until we talk after the chapter is over.
All right, this is a post chapter, not a pre chapter.
Mm-hmm. All right, muting myself.
All right, let's hit it. Team leader Baxter and quartermaster Vocik and a handful of other random nameless field operatives and researchers were split between a couple of helicopters and talking over intercoms. Pardon. And talking over intercoms. They were high above the Pacific Northwestern wilderness, somewhere over the tall woods of Washington. If business wasn't so serious, Baxter might have taken the time to enjoy the greenery. However, he was missing a partner, and it was getting to him. Vocik's haggard old voice came through the earpiece and startled Baxter out of his intimate moment with the landscape. We're coming up on the blip. Get ready to drop. Now he's got an accent and he's gruff. Great. Baxter shifted in his seat and grabbed onto a pole to steady himself as the helicopter dove low over a small valley between the hills. The big metal vehicles hovered as ladders were tossed down off the sides. Operatives and researchers alike began to scale the ropes and drop onto the forest floor. People still in the helicopters threw down large bags full of tents, stoves, weaponry, reality readers, deconstructed workstations, MREs, and the like. Everything needed to keep a search and research and rescue operation in working order for a week or more. Baxter caught another bag full of something heavier than he was expecting. The impact made him release an oof, and he plopped it down next to a group of idlers who were beginning to pick things up and separate the supplies into useful, organized piles. After it was all said and done, and the last stragglers remaining in the helicopters had hopped onto the ground and saluted the pilots, everyone but a small group began constructing tents and impromptu laboratories. Some set up shooting ranges. Others constructed rifles out of parts. Others had begun constructing some fire pits. The place was buzzing with humming conversation and the sounds of hard physical labor. Team leader Baxter, quartermaster Vocik, Lead, lead researcher Voynich. Voynich? Voynich. Voynich. I know it's like the manuscript. Darkstuff, clarification.
1 second. I'm looking it up because it's been
Okay.
forever. Uh, looks like Voynich.
Voynich. Oh, okay, neither
Voynich.
one.
That's what I'm seeing. But wait. Let me listen to. Uh,
Hello, everyone in the chat who
no,
said hello while we're doing this.
it's actually exactly how it looks. It's Voynich. Voynich.
Voynich.
So it's how you were saying it.
Cool, I got one. I had a 50-50 shot.
Mm-hmm. All right, muting myself again.
Cool. Team leader Baxter, quartermaster Volchik, lead researcher Voynich, and a handful of other operatives and researchers of various types all began a hike to the blip. They wanted distance from it, because it is usually a smart decision to not sleep too close to an anomaly. No matter how benign an oddity might seem, the baseline is that they were unpredictable, and you don't want to be faced with unpredictability while half awake. And you most certainly don't want to deal with the consequences of unpredictability while unconscious. The walk was mild, mostly flat, and only took about an hour or two. Along the way, Baxter could hear some of the researchers at the front mumbling something about the trees. Baxter looked intently at the wood, and noticed that all the trees were oddly elongated. It was as if they were being stretched towards the center of this area. Even their branches were thick and thin at odd intervals, giving the area a discomforting distortion to it. Soon enough, they had arrived at the blip. After Lynn had hit the Ferrari, the GPS tracker disappeared off of Cairo and landed right here. The center of this whole disproportionate woodland was the blip. It had a pervasive, shrine-like feeling to it. Sorry, I got distracted because I feel like shrine-like should have a hyphen, but I might be wrong, I don't know. All the elongated trees clearly pointed to this spot as the center. At the very center, several disfigured rodents and birds were laid and fused on top of each other. Voynich suggested that no one step over the spot. The sentiment was unanimous. Some simple experimentation showed that people on one side of the blip could not hear people on the other side of the blip. Just standing a foot away from someone around the blip, and you would have to yell to make any impression on them. An operative took a tangerine they had been carrying with them and tossed it into the blip. And tossed it onto the blip. It stayed in shape at first, but within a minute it rapidly flattened and its contents oozed and spiraled out from the center. Its rinds became intertwined with bird feathers and squirrel skin, and its juice dried extremely quickly. Finally, Voynich handed Baxter a GPS tracker and walked to the other side of the blip carrying a separate GPS tracker with him. Voynich stared at his devices for a second, and then showed the results to Voynich. They both circled the blip and came back, uncomfortably close to Baxter so as to disclose the information with no threat of hearing issues. The tracker... Who's saying this? Who is it? I don't know who that is. It's not Baxter and it's not Voynich, it's Voynich. Voynich needs a voice. Voynich. The trackers don't lie, and they say that this side of the blip is more than 4 kilometers away from the other side of the blip. We can't hear each other because whatever magic is making our bodies stay intact as we move is not hiding the fact that sound is having to travel miles to reach the other people. Speaking of bodies staying intact, we should vacate the area. Who knows what prolonged exposure can do to someone? Should we walk and talk? Baxter and Voynich nodded. Good then. The easy assumption to make here is that KTE 12079, Child Predator, is somehow inside the 4-kilometer-long space in between where we stood. The original assumption that Child Predator entered a pocket dimension or extra-dimensional space is far less likely than him. We think it's a him, correct? Having a space that exists on planet Earth but is being masked by a spatial anomaly surrounding it. The way the trees and landscape are stretched suggests that it's trying to fill in where the previous space used to be. It's probably some separate extra magic that allows us to walk through the area without stretching ourselves. I suppose we should be thankful we are dealing with someone who likes to keep up an appearance, whether that be makeup or otherwise. Voynich stopped suddenly and addressed the small crowd of researchers jotting down notes. We know where it is. We know what it is. We have our fair share of anomalous operatives and devices on the case. Now all we need to do is take the blip and crack it open. Men, get ready to face off against this century's most creative pedophile. Chapter close.
Woo! Woot! Yay!
Yeehaw.
So, thoughts?
You're right that while I was copying and pasting this into my teleprompter, I saw just the last line, and I was like, oh, that's a strong line to end on. This is going to be dramatic. But really, by the time we got there, it wasn't as dramatic as I thought it was going to be.
No, it's pretty much the conclusion that they've made.
And also, so this is the end of Act 1. And
The next chapter is. The next chapter is the end of Act 1.
So this is the penultimate. This is almost the end of Act 1.
Yes.
And I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some officers. We got our policemen. We've got our FBI officers.
Mm-hmm.
I have to imagine that with magnet shoes and chasing disappearing cars, they have to be UIU, right?
I was trying to make them the Global Occult Coalition without saying it outright.
Really?
Yeah, because KTE, the designation they used for child predator, that is a Global Occult Coalition thing, and them being in multiple other countries, such as Cairo and India, so Egypt and India, was supposed to show that they were Global Occult Coalition. But reading it back over, I did realize that I showed them posing as FBI people, and I was like, oh no, that makes it sound like the UIU, doesn't it? Which I didn't have that thought at the time. I don't think I was as cognizant of the UIU's existence when I wrote this.
Well, they are kind of like butt monkeys on the wiki, aren't they?
A little bit. The joke is UI useless,
Yup.
but they have good interpretations. I don't really enjoy them just being terrible at everything they do.
Although
I like
the
them
idea of
being
them,
less powerful than other people, but I don't like them being completely powerless.
I will tell you, I did a reading for the channel just recently that was, it's called No Cars Allowed.
Oh
And
yeah, Ellie wrote that.
Ellie wrote that. And that, as a comic take on the UIU, I'm a really big fan of.
Mm-hmm.
I like the comedy useless angle of them sometimes.
Yes, and that's what, if they're going to be painted as useless, that's what you should be aiming for, is comedy.
And now that you mentioned the GOC, I realize the only time on the wiki that I've encountered personally the GOC is when I was researching for the Scarlet King Declassified, and one of the items they have is the 7 lances or something, like the 7 spears.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is KTE something, something, something. But now I see that link because I forgot about them completely.
Yeah, they seem to be a little more prevalent on the site than the UIU, though. I'm surprised that you know the UIU and not Global Occult Coalition, because let me find out. I can find out right quick which one has more articles on the site.
Nice.
So,
And while you're doing research, I'll keep looking for more things that I thought about in this.
mm-hmm. I have to remember exactly how this works. This search function. Is it just this? Oh, wait. Random.
While he's hunting, everyone in the chat, hello, what's up? Good to see you guys. Connor Kilmer mentioned wanting me to do Daleport and then said, or that 5th Church SCP, The one where a D class gets swallowed by an orgasm worm while wearing a biocontainment suit. My dear friend, I hate
Oh.
to inform you that the Vorhole is already on Site-42, fully
Wow.
voice acted, and just as disgusting as you expect it to be.
Oh
Cactus
yeah,
and Cyantrus, who both read it, were like, oh my god, I can't believe you did this. We hate it and we love it.
there are 161 articles that have the UIU in them, and there are 229 articles that have the Global Occult Coalition in them.
That's not as much of a discrepancy as I would have expected.
Really? I
Cause
think it's fairly significant.
because in like my mind, I guess I don't however many tales or articles there are on the wiki in total, it makes like the GOC just seems so much like older and entrenched in site lore that I just haven't encountered.
Mm-hmm.
Like I when I hear the GOC, I'm like, oh yeah. First of all, I think destroy, destroy, destroy because that's just like old school site lore.
Yep.
And so I think that they would be just like gosh darn everywhere. And when I think of the UIU, I feel like they're newer because I've heard less about them in that like meme level.
Yeah, that's probably right. I can't like confirm or deny that. I'm not sure, but they're probably newer. GOC are pretty old. They are old site news.
I know the only GOC thing I did for the channel besides uh redoing or besides researching the Scarlet King was during the Christmas live stream a couple years back when Clef saved Christmas, which is a Chowder Clef tale. The GOC plays a big part in that.
Hmm.
And that was a mess.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Clef generally is, in my humble opinion.
So yeah, I guess then if this is the team that we're involved with this whole time, then this is the essentially the GOC's point of view of everything that's gone on so far.
Hmm.
But where I'm getting confused then, and this is probably questions I'm going to have to wait on,
Hmm.
the Ferrari, am I forgetting that he had a car this whole time, or is this a different threat?
He in the last chapter it explicitly said Ferrari. Pretty sure. 1 second.
I think you're
Oh
right.
no,
Now,
it didn't. It just says car. Oh no,
mm,
I should change that to make it way more obvious.
yeah, because I didn't remember, especially like a black and pink Ferrari. I was like, that's real specific.
Yeah, it was I collapsed into the shiny pink and white hot rod was the line from the last chapter.
Mm.
But I should just say pink and white Ferrari
God, I
because
love the site that you can just go back and like change these things and make the story better
yeah,
after the fact.
isn't it great?
Love it. Cause for a hot second, when I didn't know what the Ferrari was, and when it was
Hmm.
misty in the back of my mind, um, how much do you know about Herman Fuller's Circus of the Disquieting?
Oh, that was I was trying to make an allusion to that. Did you see that? The any other kidnappings recently? Anything clown related?
That's where I started to think it.
Yeah.
And when
Um,
the car was
I
disappearing, I was like, okay, I don't know if Brainy Brian has one of those, but I know because one of my like favorite stories that I was requested to do on the channel is your call is very important to us.
Oh yeah, that's fun. That's a fun one.
It's so fun, and it's the part where they're stuck with the car in SCP 3008,
Hmm.
which is just a concept that even makes me laugh now. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they've got the teleporting car, and so that's what I started to think when this like was going on because any other clown related kidnappings, disappearing car. But I know that that was a beetle, it was a clown car.
Hmm. Yeah, the point of putting in anything else clown related is just supposed to show that they like are doing their research and it's like, well, if there's a mime kidnapping people, then this is our clearest link.
Well, then here's my
So,
last like story thread note that I can think of as I'm like reading this, digesting it for the first time,
mm-hmm.
and that's that in the last chapter or two chapters ago, Brainy kidnapped some kids by
Yep.
accident.
Yep.
And then oh god. Oh god. And so I'm going to continue on that exact phrasing before that oh god.
Uh-huh.
And so he kidnaps those kids and by
Yep.
accident. And then he has the
Yep.
kids at the shop. And I'm like, okay, well, now there's kidnappings of children everywhere. And why would he be kidnapping the kids? Oh no, he knows where to get supplies.
I was waiting for when that line hit.
When I said, oh God, that was literally the penny dropping in my brain.
P.S. I think I found the materials to do it myself, but that'll just have to be a surprise. Okay, was the line that the last chapter ended with.
And it was, and I knew that. And And I saw that too at when I was changing the teleprompter. I saw that too. So I'm glad I saw
Mm-hmm.
that so that the penny drop could go as I tried to figure it out. And oh God,
Uh-huh.
Brian, brainy Brian.
Yup. I have you also noticed that the headers that say Vend-a-Friend have been getting progressively grayer.
I have not.
So instead of on your teleprompter, go to the actual page and
Got it
scroll to the
here.
very top and compare that logo with the one on the Vend-a-Friend hub.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh
Yeah.
God. Did you happen to catch the 5999 stream on Tuesday?
I did not. I got there and popped into chat just to say hi and then left.
Oh, I just looked at chapter 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, suffice it to say that if I had known that, and now that I do, throughout that stream, I took the care to change out the candles every time we switched to a new story,
Uh-huh.
so that when we blew out a candle, it changed on the screen. And so I will now make certain to change out this little Vend-a-Friend logo with its compatriot each time.
I think we unfortunately missed the most dramatic change throughout the series, which was a different one for each of the first 5 chapters. But there
Okay.
are going to be that gimmick continues, so that would be very good to check each time.
Okay, 6 looks normal. 7 looks just pretty. I like it.
And then 7 through what is it? 7 through 12 have the same one, and then starting on chapter 13, it goes back to the very original one. Chapter 14 has its own, and then chapter 15 is back to original.
Okay, well, while my artistic heart is sad that I missed that, I am. I hope everyone goes and looks at the Vend-a-Friend chapters 1 through 4 that we've done so far and upvotes them if you enjoyed the story, because that's what you do on this wiki.
Thank you.
And
Also, it should
also
be noted.
enjoys the artistry of the Vend-a-Friend logos changing and getting scary.
That's
And I'm
done by
definitely.
Sunny Clockwork, by the way. She is wonderful. And she did basically all the art that's in the Vend-a-Friend series, except for the um, image at the bottom of the Vend-a-Friend hub, which is done by Mendelssohn.
Oh, and that's such a pretty. I'm afraid of the blood swatches, though. Hmm. I
Hmm.
have. I have concerns.
I will also say that I think no, I'm not gonna freaking. I was going to start talking about how this image is not perfectly how I imagine Brainy, but why would that matter when it's such an amazing and beautiful image? Like it's so pretty. They have the rainbow umbrella that was talked about while he was that he had during the mime part, and they have his outfit, and they keep his face hidden so that you can kind of still have it be interpretable for like what you think he looks like.
I mean, that's number one, that's a thing that you just
Mhm.
said, and that's important. But number two, what you just did to my brain is up until this point, I have been assuming, because remember, kids, when you assume, you make an ass out of Sherman. Just me,
Yeah.
only me, the whole time.
You forever.
I saw the magical Wonka top hat, and I just assumed that that was Dr. Wondertainment,
Mm.
as one must. I'm sure I'm not the only dummy. Comment below if you were also a dummy with me. But now that you have said that thing, I have questions about where the
Uh-huh.
story is going. Not that I
Yep.
didn't before.
And I won't be answering them.
Good, because the spoilers are amazing.
I am I'm really proud of I'll just say it because I want you to like wonder like how it's going to get here. I'm really proud of the last chapter's title, which is holding an umbrella but the sun's still shining.
I'm sure that's going to make more sense.
It's supposed to be, it's not literal. It's supposed to be kind of a metaphor and I like it. Um I don't know. It's like holding an umbrella but it's not raining. I don't know. I don't want to say any more about my thought process in that because that would probably lead to spoilers for the series.
Exactly.
But
On one hand, I am the kind of person who, while I don't seek out spoilers, I don't.
mhm,
I have nothing against them. Like, I'm never like, oh God, I was spoiled. Because I've read
mhm.
psychology things where, like, knowing ahead of time gives you the opportunity to enjoy the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, I enjoy spoilers ahead of time and I can go, ooh, look at how they did that. Very smart.
Mhm.
But there is something to be said for the shock and awe approach of not knowing what's going on. And the oh gods when I get to put things together.
Yep. Like you did this time, and I'm very happy about that. That was a great moment.
Live on camera for you guys.
Yes.
All right. As we wind down, do you have any final thoughts for the viewers tonight, Darkstuff?
Um, not particularly. Not particularly. What that doesn't make sense. No, I don't really. I'm really excited uh to at the end of the next chapter, I expect us to have like a discussion about what the series is like as if it ended there, like knowing that it continues on, but like from the perspective of if that was all you read, like how would you interpret and how would you have experienced the story? Because that was the mindset that I was in while I was writing it, and the chapters 6 through 15 came to me later as a
What was the gap
continuation.
between chapter 5 and chapter 6?
Um, one sec. It was they had a 40 days between each other.
Hmm. Oh,
And for context, chapters 1 through 5 were posted um, every other day when they were coming out. It was chapter 1 a day, chapter 2 a day, chapter 3 a day, chapter 4 a day, chapter 5, and then 40 days, chapter 6.
all right. So that is like a Gravity Falls level of making your fans wait for it.
Yes. Oh, okay, sorry. I just realized something. Some of the like creation of the series was really strange, and I just realized that chapter 6 was written after chapter 7 because chapter 6 is an intermission that I put in later. So actually, let me look. Chapter 7 and chapter 5 were published on the same day, and I do remember that because I had written all of chapters 1 through 5 um before I started publishing them. That's so that I could make them go one after the other. And then as I was publishing them, someone, namely Dr. Chandra, and I started talking, and I got ideas and then continued the story. And I got chapter 7 ready to publish on the same day I published chapter 5 so that people didn't think that chapter 5 was the end, even though it was written to be one.
It's not over, bitches.
Yep. There were, however, um, what is that? 10 days between chapter 7 and chapter 8. And then between chapter 8 and chapter 9, oh my God, that was almost 200 days.
Oh
So
my
more
lord.
than half a year passed between those. And then it was semi regular up through the end after that. So that's some weird behind the scenes stuff.
Art takes time sometimes.
Yes, it does. Also, sorry for weird noises happening in the background. People are scooting chairs upstairs
I didn't
and
know if
making.
that was my ceiling or yours, so fine.
Yeah, it's my ceiling. Sorry about that. But yeah, we can talk more about the creative process behind Vend-a-Friend after more of the story unravels.
Exactly.
So I was very glad to be here, and I think I'm gonna go have dinner with my family.
Well, thank you so much for coming, mon ami. We'll see you hopefully next week for the next Vend-a-Friend.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, by the way, at this point, having done 4 of these and how fun I'm having with it, I'm just
Hmm.
not asking for other interviews right now. Darkstuff is my only hero. Let's do this for the next 12 weeks.
Thank you.
We're going to shotgun this. I'm enjoying it too much. So,
I
yeah,
am,
plan out your
I
Sundays,
feel
Darkstuff, because
blessed.
we're not stopping.
Yeah, I was. I sort of noticed that it looked like you weren't asking other people, so I told my family that I'm expecting every Sunday. I'm planning on
Wonderful.
having this block of time free every Sunday.
Yeah, Site-42 viewers, thank you, and so do I.
Woo. All
Sop
right.
Palcata Duck says thank you for the good stream.
Thank you for the good viewership, bro.
Darkstuff, we will see you next week. Hallelujah.
See ya.
And as for me,
Bye.
Site-42 viewers, thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm glad you enjoyed the story. I'm glad you enjoyed the interviews. Glad you enjoyed hanging out. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and comment and share the stream and Patreon and all those things help grow the channel. I'm making a Vend-a-Friend playlist now so that you'll be able to shotgun the whole thing and it'll just autoplay because that seems like a nice thing to do now that we're going to do the whole thing. And yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the story. And we'll see you at our next Anomalous Broadcast from Site-42.
Bye bye.
Cheers. And banner. Don't forget to like it. There's only 6 likes.